and I've got plenty of water, and we check each other's bases. So, I mean, we want to make this day the same as you see it today, as you see it on Sunday. Some people that come in Sunday, this should look just like that. So we work together to make sure that all of our arrangements are pristine for you.
Thank you.
This is my interpretation of the tortoise, the turtle, and the crane. And the crane and the tortoise wanted to read Buddha's teachings, but because the turtle was so close to the water, the waves extinguished his light, so he couldn't see Buddha's teachings. And the crane flew so high up into the sky that the sky extinguished his fire. So they decided to work together. The crane gathered up fire, landed on the turtle's back. The turtle took him to shore, and then they could both see Buddha's teachings, which was learn to work together.
Thank you.
And I'm using a Japanese iris for the crane, vanilla bean orchid for the lotus, and chrysanthemum for the turtle.
Artist that was working and living in New York and ended up in the 50s moving out to Red Wing, Minnesota with his wife. Her family came from there. And he loved nature. Even though he did lots of hard-line things, he would go out in nature and then come back and interpret them in his own style. And so I thought I'd take his more hard-line style and bring it back to the real blousy, kind of uncontrolled, less controlled nature. But I did want to honor his perpendiculars with a little bit of superstructure, and but still really go for the less controlled nature of flowers that are not so hard-lined and so defined.
So this is window encasement by George Washington Mayer. It's the beginning of the prairie architecture. He did motif rhythms. He kind of started that, where he would do like say a poppy in the window. He would continue that all over the house. And so he thought it brought unity together. So when we got this, we really weren't sure where to go at first, but then we thought, okay, well, let's make the poppy more important than the rest of the window. So we wanted it to kind of like the poppy was taking over the window and the window was less important. From the top, we have a poppy that has been dried in silica gel, so it kept its shape, and then we resined over the top of the poppy and then reconstructed it so it had a 3D effect on top. Wood dolls were painted gray to represent the lead piping in between the stained glass. We decided to leave any stained glass out because we wanted the flowers to flow on both sides. And then we used red oak because he used red oak as a frame going around. If you could see underneath the poppies, you could see that we continued the design all the way down, and then we did it at a 1.5 size compared to the window, so we just brought it up by half the original size. And then every flower that's in there is poppy, whether it's a poppy seed or a poppy pod or the beginning or the end of the poppy. We're going to leave them in there whether they are at the beginning of their life or the end of their life.
So you're not going to replace them as the time goes on?
Nope, we might add to them.
Okay.
We do have to add, but we do want to keep the spent ones there, just so it seems more natural on what really happens.
And so this is a dual effort, you said, between yourself and another person?
Yep. My girlfriend, we've been friends since we were 4, and we are opening a shop called Poppy and Wonderments, so we thought it was perfect that we got the poppy. And she is a floral designer. She's been doing that for about 3 years, and I've been an artist since I can remember. And we are coming together in the same shop because why not? And we're gonna have local artists there, and her floral studio will be there, and we'll have classes and a place to photograph art because that's always hard to do in your house. And yeah, we're just gonna have a place where you can come together and have a great time and have beauty all around you.
I chose this piece just based on how much was going on in it. The elements I'm really drawn to between all four seasons, the elements, there's actually a horoscope wheel just barely visible, kind of watermarked over it. And immediately upon seeing this piece, after realizing it was on the list, I kind of saw that divide there, whether it's intentional or not. I kind of see Father Time and Mother Earth, or like Mother Nature down below. And so I knew I wanted to recreate that with two different vessels there, incorporating elements of all four seasons, as well as some more spirituality elements like the rosemary and the bay leaf that are commonly used. Everything is naturally colored. It grows out of the ground this way. Toffee roses, cafe au lait, and Leishmero carnations are all natural, with the exception of these mums. I just did a light kiss of some root cover spray for your hair because I needed another cooler tone element in there. But it's definitely a challenge working with and choosing to do more of this muted color palette, but it's been really fun.
So the artist is Spanish. He spent a lot of time in Paris with the artists there in the late 1800s. So is presumably impressionist. Then he came back to Spain and he bought a fishing shack south of Barcelona in a fishing village. And that's where he painted this. He set up a studio and then other artists came. So he's like an early modern. So it obviously has the light and a lot of things that you think about with Impressionism. But what I was drawn up to is this shapes, just these strong shapes.
And colors.
And the gorgeous palette of colors. So that's just what I worked with. And I was lucky to find flowers that were available the day that I went shopping that were in the palette, and pretty flowers.
I keep looking at the back one because it goes to the door up here.
Yes, are just these blocks of gray and white. It rises up and it's green and blue. And also just this angular shape.
Yes.